December 22nd, the year 2012. We made it. We're here, safe and sound. The world didn't end yet, but the 22nd is not over, so are you walking on thin ice? You pushing your luck? It's still officially the end of one cycle, but as someone reminded us today at lunch, ends always lead to beginnings. So it is the beginning of the next cycle. So congratulations, we're here at the very beginning of the age of Aquarius, or however you want to call it. So in fact, there were no cataclysms so far, knock on wood. Any other superstitious gestures you can do to make sure we make it through the next 3.5 hours, right? 4.5 hours. So December 22nd, 2012, we're here in Berkeley, California, and we're looking into the Flower Garland Sutra, the 10 grounds chapter, the Shurdipin, the 10 grounds, 10 stages. And we're going to start the way we usually do by invoking spiritual presence here. It's on the front cover of your text. If you want to follow along, please do. It's right here. Name of the sutra and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who speak the sutra for us. Namo Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yin Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa Nam Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yin Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa Nam Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa Nam Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa Nam Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa Nam Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yan Ji Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa. Okay, we need to turn to the page 6 and 7, the last pages on your booklet. 6 and 7. I have a spare set here if anybody needs one. Or if we're running out, I've got an extra. We're down at the bottom paragraph. I'll give you a line in the Chinese and you follow along. 佛子菩萨住持第四地观内身顺身观勤勇念之除世间贪忧观外身顺身观勤勇念之除世间贪忧观内身观内外身顺身观勤勇念之 处世间谈游. Okay, over to the right. Let's read this all together in unison. We'll just read it with one breath. Here we go. Ready? Disciples of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva who stays upon the fourth ground, looks closely at his own person. He invokes the contemplation of the body, diligently and courageously faces the truth, and rids himself of the standard worldly greed and concern. He looks closely at the world around him. He invokes the contemplation of the body, diligently and courageously faces the truth, and rids himself of the standard worldly greed and concern. He looks closely at others. He invokes the contemplation of the body, diligently and courageously faces the truth, and rids himself of the standard worldly greed and concern. Okay. Starts out by saying, for the disciples of the Buddha, this is a standard greeting. The person who is speaking is a bodhisattva whose name is Vajra Treasury, Jingangzang Pusa, treasury of Vajra. Vajra is a substance that is like diamond, but it's not diamond. It's a spiritual substance. That is to say, beyond science's realm. And yet, it's we have things in the world that are similar, so we kind of have a sense of what it is. Vajra, sometimes translated as adamantine, very hard, and able to cut, and pure as well. So his name is Storehouse of Vajra, Treasury of Vajra. That's the Bodhisattva's name. He says, disciples of the Buddha, Pusa Jutsu Di Su Di. When the Bodhisattva stays here on the fourth ground, and the fourth ground is like it's kind of the way we do high school, right, or college. Do we live in college? Do we dwell in college? Yeah, temporarily we do. We move through. It's a place where we inhabit for training. And the fourth stage, the fourth ground, is just like that. It's a training ground. It's a place where we learn things and then graduate once we've absorbed the lessons there. So as the Bodhisattva Zhu, as he stays here on this fourth ground, he does something. And there's a pattern here, and this pattern repeats 3 times, you'll notice. People who were sensitive to the Chinese or to the English, you saw the same set of words come back 3 times. And this is certainly on purpose, and it tells us, remember, well, if you were here a while ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we launched into this fourth ground and learned what it's about. And I'll give you a synopsis of where we are at this point. This bodhisattva in the third ground, in particular, looked around at the world and he saw things breaking apart. He saw how things don't last. Things are transient. They're moving through. We got some seats in front. Don't be shy. Come right down. Got books for you. You have to climb over some folks to get there, but they don't mind. He looked at how things in the world are passing through. They don't last. And he saw that at his stage of wisdom, he or she, mind you, this is gender neutral, is able more than he did before to let things go. He's more detached from things in the world. And as a result, he keeps his balance. She keeps her balance. When things break up, it doesn't hurt as much as it used to, because the bodhisattvas looked closely, clearly at the nature of things. And the nature of things is they're made up of parts. Everything in the world, this bodhisattva's wisdom shows him now that everything in the world is component. It's a component. It's just like the keyboard on your computer. If you don't have a keyboard, you can't operate, no matter how fast or what a beautiful monitor you have. If you don't have a keyboard, you can't operate it. Keyboard's a component. A mouse or a trackball is a component. You need that to guide the cursor, the mouse, and the thing on the screen that lets you click things. So without these pieces, you can't operate a system because they're components. You take one away, and without that component, things don't work. The Bodhisattva looked around and said, you know what? Everything's like that. Everything is like that, including my body. Health is like that. Take away one component, get it out of balance, and suddenly you're not healthy. So that was his insight. He saw through the surface of things down into the world around him, around her, and, of course, one of the first things that came up for review was the human body. The human body is very much a component object. It's made up of other things. The Buddhists have a technical jargon term for it. They call it they say, if you do it word for word, it's falsely composed of the four elements. 四大家合. You could, more colloquial English would be temporarily composed of the four elements. Provisionally built of things that are themselves transient. So the Bodhisattva saw that and thought, wow, you know what? I have learned to kind of balance in the midst of that, but most of the people around me, people who I care about, people I know, people who are my relatives, my loved ones, they don't know that. And when things break up, they can't let go. And that really hurts. It really, really, really hurts them. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Right? Said the Bodhisattva, what am I going to do? So the answer was, find a way to help him. Find a way to teach him how to let go. And don't be shy, just grab a chair. There you go. We know how to do it. What am I going to do? I'm going to find a way to teach them how to let go. That was his answer. That was his conclusion. What was the way? How you do that? Well, the answer is the Buddha Dharma. The Buddha Dharma, the Buddha's teachings, is the way. And so she decided she was going to go learn the Buddha Dharma. How do you do that? Well, you need a teacher. Got to go find a teacher. So that was the challenge. That was where we left the third ground. I'm going to find a teacher. The Bodhisattva said, I will give anything, as long as I can really learn the Buddha Dharma from somebody who knows it. If we get more folks tonight, start lining them up down the side. Okay, we're officially illegal because there's no walking space in the back, right? If there's a fire, you got to go out this door, not that one, because you can go out that door. All right. So the Bodhisattva said, where am I going to go? I got to find a teacher. So that was the challenge. And here we are now in the fourth ground. And the Bodhisattva has decided that she will give up anything in order to learn the Buddha's Dharma. So he's now on the search. And we just begun. This is the beginning of the fourth ground. And what the Bodhisattva has come on to is the techniques, the methods, the actual how-to of learning the Buddha Dharma. And it involves, interestingly enough, something that people don't expect right off, is lists. Lists. The 2 of this, the 3 of this, the 4 of this, the 5 of this, the 6 of this, the 7, and so forth. Up to the 75 dharmas of the Sarvastivadins, the 100 dharmas Shastra, the 10,000 Buddha's names, all these lists of dharmas. And there are scholars, one of the famous Buddhist scholars proposed that actually the Buddha Dharma, what we call Fofa, right, the Buddha Dharma, is simply lists, methods that worked. things you could do. We go see doctors, and we come in with something, toothache, right? Cut on my toe, a rash. We have an allergy. The doctor goes, oh, this. You go, wow, it worked. It was great. The doctor knows more than one cure, though. The doctor has all these cures for all these different problems and maladies. In fact, if you want to take the certifying exam to be a Chinese doctor an acupuncturist here in California, you better memorize. You have to memorize all these points, right? Lists. So doctors know lots of lists. The Bodhisattva has to learn lots of lists of Dharma, because indeed he is going to become what you call a Dharma physician, Fa Yi. Da Yi Wang. The Buddha's name is the great king of healers. So that's where we are. That's our synopsis. That brings us right up to speed. This is the first one. This is the first one. The rest of the fourth ground is just a series of lists of dharmas. They really work. The Bodhisattva has to master them. So, there we go. Pusa, zhu, ci, di, si, di. When the Bodhisattva stays here on the fourth ground, there are 10, so this is probably his sophomore year in the 10 grounds. Guan Nei Shen Shun Shen Guan Qin Yong Nian Zhi Chu Shi Jian Tan You. What's our verb? Let's do our linguistic analysis, okay? What's the verb? Guan, first one. Guan is looking with the mind. We learned that because the last couple of weeks, that's all we had. It was just, last week, if you look above on the page, there were 10 guans, right, up above. We just went through 10 different kinds of guan. That's guan as a noun, a contemplation, a thing. It's a way of looking. Now the Bodhisattva uses the guan as a verb, which is he contemplates. She looks. Nei Shen, the word for word means in the body, or the body's interior. But here, the way it's built, because this happens 3 times, notice, Guan Nei Shen, down below, Guan Wai Shen, down below, Guan Nei Wai Shen. We have 3 in a row, and it doesn't mean inside the body, outside the body, inside and outside the body, although that's grammatically what it says. What it means is the Bodhisattva looks at himself. She looks at herself. She looks at herself. And what does she see? Well, Shun Shen Guan, according with he contemplates his person and according with the body contemplation. That's the noun using Guan. This is a technique, the contemplation that accords with the physical body. Qin Yong Nian Zhi, 4 characters. Qin, strongly, with strength, diligently, vigorously. Okay? Nian Zhi, Nian is mindful. Hey, Valerie, since you are right there, would you turn that box off? See the switch right there on the box? Just click that off. The other one, in the back. Yeah, right there. Thank you. Qin Yong Nian Zhi, diligently, courageously, Nian, keeps in mind, thinks of, recalls, Zhi, knowledge. All right. Notice that occurs 3 times tonight in all 3 of these contemplations. What is the Bodhisattva doing? The Bodhisattva is facing up to the truth. Why is it courageous? What's wrong with the truth? Well, it's hard to face. What is hard to face? The truth of the body that the Bodhisattva is looking at. The Bodhisattva is courageously looking at himself. Now, it does include inside the body, but it's much more than that. It's more than that. Okay, I picked up this a minute ago. This is the morning chanting from the Pali tradition. This is the Abhayagiri morning chanting book. The monasteries of Ajahn Chah, the English language monasteries, use this. And following the daily chanting, there are contemplations that you can use on the right day, depending on where you are. The Metta Sutta, the famous Metta Sutta, this is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness. That's one of them. But there are more. There's more. There is one called the Recollection of the 32 Parts. Which 32 parts? The body's 32 parts. This is the Shunshan Guan, right here. And it's part of the daily chanting of the Pali tradition. The Mahayana has a different way of doing it, but this is part of every monk's daily training and nuns. Why? Because one of the things you do when you leave the home life, when you go forth from the householder's life and become a monastic, one of the things you do is you change your way of looking at things. You change your view. And I'll give you one concrete example. If you're a monastic, you spend very little time in front of the mirror. Not much time with your hair. Your budget for hair cream products is slashed. You don't spend a lot of time in the aisles of the drugstore thinking, I think a little bit of orange tint might be nice this season, right? Or looking at the gray, a few more grays, So a lot less, much less than before. Brill cream, a little dabble, do ya? Brill cream, you look so debonair. Brill cream, the gals will all pursue ya. They love to get your fingers in your hair. Their fingers. Okay, am I the only person who heard that live? I think so. I'm one of the old... Me, David, if you weren't here, I would be the oldest person in the room. Can you believe that? Brill cream, a little dabble, do ya? Brill cream, you look so debonair. Why do monks shave their heads and nuns? Because of the third line. Brill cream, the gals will all pursue ya. They love to get their fingers in your hair. Ooh, it's so greasy. I love it when it's greasy. Right? So, guess what? We bought Brill cream. You bet we did back then. For sure. Because why? It was advertised right there on the TV, and we all know that the TV doesn't lie. So that was one of the earliest ads, Brill cream. It was hair grease, And sure enough, I wanted the girls to pursue me like any other normal teenage, hormone-laden adolescent, So, and when you leave home, you go, I think a little less of that. It's fine, thank you, So, that's the normal view. When you leave home, you go, I got to look at my body differently. So, this goes, one thing, and your view of it goes. What's wrong with hair? Nothing. Hair is very useful. It's lovely, It's just that it is certainly a defining sexual characteristic, gender specific, right? And so if you can do without it, it really, when you shave your head for the first couple months, 6 months, year, it feels funny to not have hair on there. It's funny. You have to get used to that. And there is a time when it kind of sets in, that you feel better without it than you did with it. For sure, there's less hassle. You never have a bad hair day when you're a monastic, right? You never have to struggle with it. You don't go to barbers. So, that's still superficial, isn't it? What about going deeper into that? Ayam ko me kayo udam bata tala ado ke samataka takaparianto puro nanna pakarasa suchino. This which is my body from the soles of the feet up and down from the crown of the head is a sealed bag of skin filled with unattractive things. Now, how long ago since you had dinner? I should be aware of that before I chant this. Because it's kind of hard to take. This is not simple stuff. And to assume it is you're not paying attention, right? This is deep stuff. And it's given to monastics to chant. That's how powerful. This is not given to lay people to chant because this is given by the Buddha as a Shunshan Guan. This is right what the text is talking about, what the Bodhisattva does in order to get in there and mess around with the roots of my understanding of who I am. Because who am I? Most of us will say, I am this thing. This is me. This is me. And why not? I mean, it is. This is without it, who are you without it? Well, that's the question, isn't it? So, and mind you, easy for me to sound so bold talking about it, but how attached am I to this thing and the appearance of this thing? Well, that's a big question, isn't it? It goes slowly, those attachments. They loosen up slowly, bit by bit. So when you go down and you say, in this body there are hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinews, bones, bone marrow, kidneys, heart, liver, membranes, spleen, lungs, bowels, entrails, undigested food, excrement, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, grease, spittle, mucus, oil of the joints, urine and brain. This then which is my body from the soles of the feet up and down from the crown of the head is a sealed bag of skin filled with unattractive things. Right? You go, oh, wow. That's strong medicine. And when you look at yourself that way, it's hard to see yourself any other way. That's why it's not particularly given to lay people to recite or contemplate. Now, reciting at once is no harm. I haven't messed you up in front of the mirror, don't worry. So you say, no problem, I don't care about that. But my wife, my husband, it's like, what if you start looking with those eyes at your spouse? Trouble, right? That doesn't help. It's hard enough to stay related if you start looking at the entrails of your spouse, So that's why this is not simple. And I'm giving it to you that way so that you understand that with that I read that with advisal, kind of cautioning that I'm not here to tell you to look with X-ray eyes at your loved ones. Now, if you're a doctor, you need to do that. They put everything back in harmony and balance. If you're a monastic, you need to look at that world that way, bit by bit, not in a hurry. Last week and the week before, we talked about the 9 contemplations of a decaying corpse and how slowly, cautiously, the teacher guides his or her student towards that contemplation. It's not a sudden thing, because it changes you. And if you do it carefully, if you do it with wisdom, what do you see? You see things the way they really are, not the way society has given them to be. In our culture, death is hidden. Illness is, it's hard to avoid, isn't it? Because we get sick and we recover, we get sick and we recover. Birth is interesting. We have a war on against midwives. Are people aware? Epicenter of the war against midwives is Santa Cruz, California. It's very interesting. Midwives, doulas, should be a choice for a woman. It's not, in some cases. There are doctors who will advise you against going anywhere but in the hospital under their care. And mind you, I mean, I have deep respect for the medical profession, but America's infant mortality rate is way, way up on the list. I know a midwife in Santa Cruz who has given birth to something like 1,200 babies and lost one because it came out with the cord around its neck. It had died in the womb. Never lost one. And yet she was thrown in jail at one point for disobeying the American Medical Association against her own judgment. And she was later proven right in court. So, how funny. We hide the basic processes of life. We prefer to cover it and look at the way it isn't. One example, has anybody ever been to Benares, to the Ganges, and watched how another culture does death? It's sobering, and yet it's liberating at the same time. I'm talking about India, where corpses are burned and then lovingly, spiritual, in a sacred way, returned to the earth, to the river. And when those flames lick around the rib cage, boy, you go. Why? Because we connect immediately. That's me. That's me, right? And yet our culture does it so differently, you know. Not to say good, not to say bad, just to say, look how different. Now, the culture of India, the Indian civilization, has been intact in a straight line for how many thousands of years? Thousands of years. They say that the city of Shravasti in the Buddhist time, let's say Benares, the city of Benares, in the Buddhist time was so old that it smelled for miles. I've heard 60 miles, but I even find that hard to believe. That 60 miles from Benares, you could still smell it before you got there, because it was so full of life, right? Now, it was in the Buddhist time, 2,550 years ago. So it's an old civilization. People have been around a very long time in that place, and the way they look at these fundamental processes that are inevitable is, I don't want to say mature because it sounds like a judgment, but our civilization has been around for several hundred years, and we have a lot of things to learn. We have not got things figured out to that extent. So I'm thinking that our way of doing it is not really sustainable. And the word denial is a hard word, but we are very much not wanting to look at the natural processes of life. So when we're going, hair of the body, hair of the head, teeth, bones, sinews, that's a shocker. And it took me years to actually hear those words and connect that the thing chanting those words is hair, the bone, sinew, tongue, teeth. It's so ironic because it's us. It's not other. The Bodhisattva is going, yes. That's why it is Qin Yong. Nianzhi. Has to be courageous looking at this. And if they're young, I know there are some young folks with us tonight, young guys, girls, who might, this might be hard medicine, bitter medicine for young people. Maybe not. Maybe we can just visit India tonight. Don't even have to say India. We can visit an older, wiser civilization than ours. Because I honestly don't think our method of hiding it is wise. Just the resources it takes to hide death. And the fact that you have to go through obstacles to have wise women give birth to your child should not be the way. So, that's why it requires courage. How interesting, right? Here's the Bodhisattva. What does it say? He, she invokes the contemplation of the body, diligently and courageously faces the truth, and rids herself of the standard worldly greed and concern. Those last two words, tan yo, two first tones, tan yo. Tan is greed. That's one of the poison. Yo is worry, concern. Why worry and concern about the things that this contemplation gives us? It's the Bodhisattva wants to rid himself of that because it won't help set him free, and he won't be able to pass it on to others. Without worrying about it, we're definitely going to come to the end of our lives, whether or not we worry. Without being greedy for aging, aging comes in its own time. Tan yo, greed and worry are mental processes based on, from the Buddhist point of view, seeing things the way they're not. Right? If we see things the way they aren't, then we're seeing it wrong. What happens? Well, is greed physical? Part of it. There's a flavor that you can get like a hunger for something, desire so strong, it actually messes with your metabolism. Worry is an emotion, which is a mental process that registers in the body. You can be so worried you tremble, right? You shiver. You get the shakes because you're so upset. You're so worried. And yet, it's just a view. It's a way of seeing things. So the Bodhisattva rids himself, herself, of shi, jian, tanyo, gets rid of the standard worldly greed and worry. It's coming anyway. So, now, this I would propose is another testimony to why we say Buddha Dharma is, I'm going to say a religion. Buddha Dharma is a teaching for adults. And by adults, I don't mean age necessarily, but it includes, if you're 25, you can still be an adult. Even if you're 24, we'll give you a year. 23-year-olds, forget it. You're still a kid. No, I'm kidding. This kind of maturity that's required here has nothing to do with chronological age. And I know lots of 50-year-olds who are children, who are adolescents, or certainly immature. This is a teaching for mature folks who are willing to look at it the way it is. But boy, the sutra itself says, Qin Yong, Nianzhi, diligently, courageously sees things the way they are. All right, got it. So that's himself, herself, looking in the mirror, looking at your body when you're sick. There's two more. Guan Wai Shen Shun Shen Guan Qin Yong Nian Zhi Chu Shi Jian Tan Yo. He looks closely at the world around him. He invokes the contemplation of the body, diligently and courageously faces the truth, and rids himself of the standard worldly greed and concern. So, one of the best lists that we have is something called the 4念处, the 4 places of mindfulness. The 4, sometimes they're called the 4 divine abodes. There are various names for these 4. And each one is a safe place. That's why they're called dwellings or abodes, places to live. What are they? I'll give you the list. This is one of the greatest lists going, because they're liberating, these ways of looking. You contemplate the body. You contemplate feelings. You contemplate thoughts. And you contemplate dharmas. The first one, the Chinese goes, Guan Shen Bu Jing. Guan Shou Jie Ku. Guan Xin Wu Chang. Guan Fa Wu Wo. The Bodhisattva lives in these. He contemplates, I'll just give you the translation, and I'll just give it to you, and then we'll work with it. He contemplates how the body is not pure. She contemplates how feelings all lead to ku. Dissatisfaction, that's the dukkha word, suffering sometimes, dissatisfaction. Feelings lead to dissatisfaction. Contemplates, number 3, how thoughts don't last. Thoughts are transient. And 4, contemplates how all dharmas are not self. And that word is chosen carefully. So, not self. So, body, impure, feelings, cool, unsatisfying. Thoughts, transient. Dharmas, not self. 4念处, the 4 places of mindfulness, the 4 divine abodes, some people call them. This list is there in the Theravada teachings from the Pali. It's there in the Mahayana teachings. The Tibetan tradition does it too. This is one of the standard, really good, lovely Buddhist lists. Connie? I will. Not self, not no self, not self. Okay, coming up. But you got to wait for the first 3 before I get there. Otherwise, I get scolded by my teacher for jumping the list. Okay. The standard way of looking at these, and this is a real Buddha Dharma. Okay, this is a real teaching. It's one of the lists. Notice, Bodhisattva started out on his study of the Dharma, which she connects with. This is how he's going to help the people who he cares about, who he sees are suffering because they're still attached to things. Back there. Now, the learning has begun. It's a contemplation. You look at things this way. It's another way of looking. You change your eyes. It's a guan. It's looking with the mind. Okay? You look with the mind. Bit by bit, you look with your eyes, but you start by looking with the mind. Guan Shen Pu Jing. You look at how the body is impure. Now, that's not, mind you, we just did one, the body is impure, right? But this is specifically designed to get you to a place where you go, ooh, you know, I'm not really what I see in the mirror. What did Master Shuyan call it? The stinking skin bag, right? The stinking bag of skin. Chou pinang, he says. That's a contemplation for Buddhist monastics who are trying to transform sexual desire, trying to get to that strongly motivating libido, which is exactly what brought me into the world. Thank you very much. You know, nothing wrong with libido unless you are trying to put an end to birth and death. Then you look at it differently. So that's why I say this is, you got to be specific. If a layperson, especially young people trying to make a family, trying to make good Buddhist children, says, you know, dear, I love you, but your body is a stinking bag of skin, you know, she's let's see, let's go get baptized and be Christians. I don't want to hear any more of this stinking bag of skin stuff. Get out of here, you know. So, different teachings for different potentials. When you say the body is impure, it's not that impure, not that way of talking about it. What is it? The Bodhisattva looks at the body and says, earth, air, fire, and water, which themselves are transient, right? You look at earth and you start to analyze it, and my golly, you've got all these crawling things, so much space in a handful of topsoil. There's rocks, there's vegetable matter, there's all the elements and, you know, microorganisms, incredible micro, you know, what are they? I wish I had it. I had the whole list of things in a square inch of earth. All of their interesting names. Creatures that are the most numerous life form on the planet, but they're too small to see with the naked eye. You know, I've forgotten their name. It's a name, I had to look it up because it was such a funny. Anyway, that's what the Bodhisattva means when he says, Bu Jing, means not essential, not reduced to its ultimate form. They're components. That's the earth part. It's the bones, the teeth, fingernails, the sinews, etc. Let's look at the liquid parts. Oh my goodness. Saliva and blood and mucus and tears. Pure? No. Component. It's reduced to essentials? Mixed up with all kinds of stuff. Right? Not immaculate, not essential, but multiple. All right? 3, what else? Space is not pure. There's filled with all kinds of things. KQED is right here in my hand. I don't have a radio to pick it up, but it's right there, right? All the radio stations, all of the infrared and ultraviolet and SETI, you know, when aliens decide to get in touch with us, it'll be right here, right in front of us. Pure? Not. Mixed. And fire, the warm parts, all mixed. Changing constantly. Heat, warmth, cold. Right? So, Guan Shen Bu Jing, looking at the body, it is not essential, not something that has been reduced. It's all mixed up. You could say, contemplate the body is mixed up, and that'd be closer instead of Bu Jing. The Bodhisattva looks at that, and what happens? Bit by bit, his view of what this is starts to change. Why? Because he hates it? Because he wants to get rid of it? No, not. Because he wants to see it as it is, so that when the time comes, he or she won't be quite so tied to it, because it's going to change. It ages, it goes away. It gets sick, it comes back. That is the story forever and forever and forever. It ages, it gets sick, it goes away, and it comes back, based on what we do when we're in its form. So, the Bodhisattva looks at it and goes, whoa, why am I so attached to something that's transient? It's going to change right before my eyes. 2, okay, Guan Shou. Jieku. This is a harder one to explain until you translate ku as unsatisfying. Because what it says word for word is, he contemplates how feelings are suffering. That in itself is a contradiction. So you can't translate it that way. Why? Suffering is a feeling, and there are other feelings. Show, what is show? It's so if this is the body, earth, air, fire, and water, one of the first functions that the body has is registering contact. The eyes contact light and shadow. The ears contact sounds and silence. The nose smells, the tongue tastes, the body sensations. The mind contacts dharmas. Jie ku means what? It means can't get 'em. I would love pleasure to stay. Wouldn't that be nice? How much of our lives is passed in trying to keep the good times here and trying to get away from the bad times? Most of our time is passed in running for pleasure, running from pain. Most. Why? We're normal. That's what people do. If you told me you were running away from pleasure and running towards pain, I would say, oops, I have a friend I'd like you to talk to. You can make an appointment. Yeah. Right? So most of the time we run towards pleasure because it feels good. Right? So the Bodhisattva, she contemplates how sensations or contact with the senses cannot be grabbed. Unsatisfying. Can't get it. Everything comes and goes. Pleasure moves on too early. Trouble leaves too slow. Says who? Joni Mitchell. You all knew that. Everything comes and goes. Pleasure moves on too early, trouble leaves too slow. Just when you think you finally got it made, bad news comes knocking at your gate. Knocking for you, constant stranger. You're a brute, you're an angel, you can crawl, you can fly too. Comes down to you. Joni Mitchell didn't know she was writing a Buddhist song, did she? So, how interesting. Jieku. All those sensations, all the things show, all the things that touch the sense organs, don't hit the spot. You can't get them. It's always moving on. Luckily, if you understand that, you can help people out when the troubles come. Because why? They don't last either. You can encourage people who are hurting that way. This will pass. They can prove that themselves, because it does. Bad times don't last either. But mostly we want the good stuff and want to get rid of the bad stuff. So it seems when you have a toothache, every second is boom, boom, boom. Right? And the good times seem to just leak away somehow. So that's the Bodhisattva's description. And when you say it that way, everybody goes, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's not that feelings are suffering. That's a really lame translation of Guan Shou Jieku. What do? The Bodhisattva contemplates Shou Jieku. All those sensations are unsatisfying, can't be grabbed, don't hit the spot. And what do? You let go a little bit. Don't have to force them to be one way or the other. You see them as they are, which is what? In motion. In motion. And if you look a little further, you go, wow, the thing that actually feels those sensations is also in motion. How could I ever have thought that it was supposed to be fun all the time? Who makes good use of that one? Advertising does. Oh boy. If it hurts, you're a loser. Buy our product and you can be a winner. Right? You go, no, I don't believe that anymore. It's not my experience. Okay. Number 3. Guan Xin Wu Chang. Okay. I'm giving you a list, right? This is not in the text, but it helps the text. What is it? Thoughts are impermanent. That one is one of the easiest to experience. The Buddha said, this is a place where you can nian. This is called the Si Nian Chu. The 4 applications of mindfulness, the 4 things to look at. These are secure refuges. You will be safe if you adopt these. As soon as we make these our own way of seeing, we're home. We talked about home last time. Where do I live? If you are secure in your understanding that the body is not essentially one thing, it's a composite body. If you see the world as sensations, you can never grab them, they're moving. If you contemplate how thoughts are transient, you are safe in those, because this is essential truth. What is it? Thoughts move on. By golly. The thoughts you had before you came in the room tonight were different than the thoughts you have right now. The thoughts you have right this minute will be different in a blink. Just wait. Now, the application of that observation is really, really helpful. Where do you see these? In meditation. These are really fine places to apply your mind when you meditate, although not that I'm recommending that you need to think about things when you meditate, unless you are contemplating these, but they will really work. You sit there and you go, yeah, I'm experiencing anger. Anger is rising. Anger's gone. Look at that. Surprise is rising. Surprise is gone. I'm contemplating the absence of anger and surprise. That contemplation is gone. You can really see thoughts rising, falling, rising, falling. Right? Somebody was asking me earlier tonight about meditation. What's the next step after counting your breath? What's the next step after relaxing your body? Well, there it is. You watch, you observe. Rising of thoughts, falling of thoughts. That's the 3rd place of mindfulness, application of mindfulness. Thoughts are impermanent. That in itself is really liberating. Okay, what about deeper thoughts like prejudices, like what we call perspectives? The things we learned, did they go? Wouldn't that be nice? Can you teach a racist to be inclusive? Can you teach someone who is attached to guns to be attached to life instead? Wouldn't it be nice? Well, Xin Wu Chang says thoughts are impermanent. Why not, Jerry? Are thoughts the same as feelings? Okay. Jerry's question was, are thoughts different than feelings? We contemplated, a minute ago, we contemplated feelings. Shou, jieku. So what about thoughts? What's different? Somebody who is alert will recognize that when we talk about the skandhas, the 5 skandhas, the 5 heaps, the 5 components, there's a crossover here. What are the 5 skandhas? It's another list. The components of the personality describe the Buddha's description of what people are. He says people are these: body, feelings, thoughts, 3 for 3, formations, which is deeper kinds of thoughts, and consciousness. Those are the 5 skandhas. The first 3 are identical, right? To answer Jerry's question, let's look at the 5 heaps, the 5 skandhas, the 5 components. The coarsest one is the body. That's earth, air, fire, and water. We just talked about it. If you go, let's say you're contemplating inwardly, although there's no real direction here, but if you go into the body, what do you get? You could say the next level is a function. It's feelings. Feelings have 2 aspects. One is sensation. What is sensation? You're sitting on the floor right now, or on a chair. That's a sensation. The pressure of the floor or the chair seat on your bottom, right? The air is slightly chilly. It was warmer because we had the heater on when you came in. Now it's starting to cool off. So temperature is, and some of you are like choked up. Like that. Sensation, temperature. What about the sensation of ice cream? I don't want anyone to think of strawberry ice cream now. Do not think of strawberry ice cream. You know, that kind of pink-flavored, cool, gelling, chilling, that one, don't think that. Okay, some of you go, salivate, strawberry ice cream. I don't like strawberry. Rocky Road. Don't think of Rocky Road ice cream. And the chips and the marshmallow, don't. So it's like sensation, taste, sometimes smell. Those are sensation. There's a second side to feelings, second skandha, which is what? Emotions. Jerry, if I ask you, are emotions feelings or thoughts? If you thought about it, probably quickly you'd say both. Why? Fear is a thought, but it registers in the body. Joy is a thought, but it registers in the body. You can jump for joy. You can be so happy you can't sit still. Kids on Christmas, right? Fear can make your teeth chatter. But when you see what it is, it's no longer afraid. It's only that. The light comes on, it's just a stick in the rope in the road. It wasn't a snake after all. It's just a piece of rope. In the dark, I thought it was a snake. Aha. No fear. Feelings are half and half. Half thoughts, half body. When you get to thoughts, there's no body. It's all mind. That's how they're different. Okay? So, emotions, what are the qi, qing, xi, nu, ai, ju, ai, wu, yu? They're called the 7 emotions. Xi, happiness. Nu, anger. Ai, grief. Ju, fear. Ai, love. Wu, hate. Yu, desire. Xi, nu, ai, ju, ai, wu, yu. The 7 emotions. They have a physical component. They have a mental component. It's rare to have fear that's only mental. Anxiety is probably one of those. Terror, you can, anger, man, when you get angry, your face turns black or green or white or red, right? Maybe all at once, all the above. So that's anger. It's got body and mind. So the answer, Jerry, is feelings are half thoughts, half physical sensations. The second one of the contemplations and the second skandha has 2 parts: physical sensations and mental phenomena, mental actions. Does that work? Make sense? When you get to thoughts, number 3, the body isn't related. What are thoughts? Thoughts are, I wonder when lunch is. Interesting. The world didn't come to an end last night. We still have a couple hours left. Okay. I'll worry about it tomorrow. So that's a thought. It's not necessarily related to the body. Okay. So the third one, Guan Xin Wuchang. That's really, really helpful. And it also is humbling because you realize there are thoughts that are not just random images passing the mind. When you get to thoughts that are deeply held beliefs, those are harder to change. And they can be super inconsistent. Okay? we look at a murderer and we say, you killed someone. That's against the law. As a result, we're going to kill you. Right? Death penalty. There are people who absolutely believe. And you see the families who say, I won't be satisfied until that justice is done. I want him to pay. And it's the rare family of a victim who, when that person finally dies on the gurney, goes, I'm deeply, deeply satisfied now. Mostly it's, I'm totally conflicted. I have no idea whether I'm liberated now. Justice, revenge is not so sweet. Right? Why? Because we're in the realm of thoughts, and you realize death is not the answer even for justice. Very complicated, huh? Very complicated. Layers of thoughts. Not one thought, but multiple thoughts in conflict. How do we work that out? The answer is wisdom. Listening to your heart. So, what's the fourth? Now, a minute ago, several minutes ago, Connie asked about the fourth one. Guan Fa Wu Wo. This is deep. The Bodhisattva contemplates, looks at, sees, looks with his mind how dharmas are not self. If I were to try to satisfy everybody with that one until we talked it to the end, we wouldn't go home tonight. That's a deep one. Because clearly, here's a dharma. Is that cup? Well, it's lid. Is that intrinsically lid? What is it about this that is forever and forever lid? Say nothing. As soon as you shatter it, right, it's crockery. It's former sand, earth that was fired and glazed, put into a shape. It's more a function than anything else. It's a cup lid. Once you break it, it's no longer a lid. It's different, huh? So that's the dharmas. All dharmas are that way. There is no intrinsic self in dharmas. They are not self. If anything, dharmas are a name, right? Lid. If you could turn this over and it could be a holder, right? Flip it over and it can even be a cup itself. So the names, contemplate the names, is a very interesting contemplation. All right, those are, the Bodhisattva looks at the world around him. He invokes the contemplation of the body, diligently and courageously faces the truth, and rids himself of the standard worldly greed and concern. All right? How are we doing? Okay. Some of us have to get to Ukiah tomorrow because of the Amitabha session. So we're going to finish a little early tonight. important that we don't forget what happened at Sandy Hook, as painful as it is. Something happened there that may change things. We'll see. If habit is any indication, there won't be much change. We'll see. The president put the vice president, Joe Biden, on the task force, and his duty is to report before January is up. And I deeply respect the vice president. I find him a man you can trust. So maybe something will happen. One of the things that has to change before any change will happen is people's minds have to change. And there's a reason why dictators and tyrants fear poets more than they fear generals. If you want to mislead a country, first thing you have to do is silence the poets, silence the songwriters, and the journalists, and the newspaper editors. There's a man named Vance Gilbert who is one of our poets and a songwriter, and he put the situation in a song that is unforgettable. And I believe that his song will last longer than any impassioned statement, because we're used to statements, and we have the other side. Statements can be countered by statements, and proofs can be countered by proofs, and the people who hold the view that guns are necessary hold those views deeply. So how do you change those thoughts? You have to go around them, go under them, go behind them, go inside them. Give people something that they believe in more, and the song's one of them. She was all dressed up for the big girl world, heading out the front door. Little girl, lipstick, earrings, anything at all that a young girl needs when her best friends call. One day she'll forgive me for making her stay at home. One day she'll understand when she has kids of her own. Now with fire in her eyes, she says, "What gives you the right? I got 26 reasons to keep you home tonight." 26 shots ringing in someone's ears. 26 breakfast tables with 26 empty chairs. 26 bullets bagged as evidence. 26 headstones that don't make sense. 26 hearses, 26 graves. 26 preachers reading 26 names. 26 angels reaching for the sky. 26 reasons, only God knows why. Only Buddha knows why. There stands a little girl with a big girl's plans, furious as a hurricane at her mean old man, stamping her feet, giving me dirty looks, screaming at the top of her lungs every name in the book. She says, "You got no excuse for wrecking my night." So I threw my arms around her and I held her tight. "You might hate me for a while for keeping you from leaving, but 26 angels say you're staying home this evening. 26 toes wearing 26 tags. 26 zippers on 26 bags. 26 dreams that will never come true. 26 brand new stars in a black sky turning blue. 26 first kisses that'll never get kissed. 26 last dances that will never exist. 26 faces never see the spring's light. 26 ears never hear a whispered good night. 26 reasons, 26 reasons. So Vance Gilbert wrote that, and I wrote to him and asked if he would give me permission to sing it. And I'll ask him for some corrections on the words that I had. And he said, "Oh, by all means, sing it loud," he said. And I said, "How do you get to that line, 26 angels say you're staying home this evening," and not choke up? Because every time I rehearsed it, I choked up. I had tears in my eyes. He said, "Oh man," he said, "we had to record it 26 times before we could get one take without choking up on it." So Vance he teaches songwriting. He was at the Swannanoa gathering when I was there. I got to know him. And he wrote this 2 days after the shooting happened on Friday. He had it on YouTube on Sunday. And it's on my blog. If you want to hear Vance do it, go to Dharma Forest. And if you can't find Dharma Forest, go to Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. That'll take you to Dharma Forest, and you can watch Vance do it. Why is this a wonderful song? There's craft in the song. He starts out with something different, but something we can relate to, which is a dad and his daughter. The daughter's got a night out planned. She comes downstairs, all dressed up for the big girl world, heading out the front door. There goes daddy's little girl. Lipstick, earrings, anything at all that a young girl needs when her best friends call. One day, says the dad, she'll forgive me for making her stay at home. One day she'll understand when she has kids of her own. But now, with fire in her eyes, she says, "What gives you the right?" Dad says, "I got 26 reasons for keeping you home tonight," referring to the 26 people who were shot at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut last Friday. Then, so there's the situation. You see that, you think, oh, wow, yeah, okay. But suddenly the song takes a turn. And what helps a song go home? Concrete images. That's what Vance teaches. First of all, you gives people something that they recognize, a domestic situation. But then you give images that happen in your brain as you hear the song. What is it? 26 shots ringing in someone's ears. That's as concrete as it gets. Number 2, 26 breakfast tables, 26 empty chairs. Can relate? You think right away 9/11. 26 bullets bagged as evidence. 26 headstones that don't make sense. So it's an image of death. 26 hearses, 26 graves, 26 preachers reading 26 names. The repetition of 26 is Vance's skill. The song's called 26 Reasons, right? And it goes in. 26 angels reaching for the sky. 26 reasons only God knows why. Well, maybe even God doesn't know why. Cause and effect. So it's like, that's the strength of the song, those images. Then back to the story. Back to the story. What is it? There stands a little girl with a big girl's plans, furious as a hurricane, a mean old man. Beautiful images that rhyme, mind you. He's a skillful writer. Stamping her feet, giving me dirty looks, screaming at the top of her voice every name in the book. You got no right. You have no excuse for wrecking my night. Turn. So I threw my arms around her and I held her tight. You might hate me for a while for keeping you from leaving, but 26 angels say you're staying home this evening. Right? The parents' response to the reality that there are people out there with weapons to kill you if they decide to. Back to the images. He doesn't let you go. He says, what? 26 toes wearing 26 tags. 26 zippers on 26 body bags. 26 dreams that will never come true. 26 new stars in a black sky turning blue. What a powerful line, right? Just he makes it happen and you go, oh. 26 first kisses that'll never get kissed. 26 last dances that don't exist. Tugging right at the heart, right? This is American images. The prom, the dance. These kids won't grow up. 26 faces never see springtime's light. 26 ears never hear a whispered goodnight. And at that point, you go, right? The songwriter, the poets, are more dangerous than the generals. Because you can fight back an army, but you cannot defend yourself against what happens in your mind when you hear the truth coming from a skillful image maker. Beautiful song. 26 reasons. So I recommend, please do, my blog would appreciate a visit. Go to Dharma Forest and listen to Vance Gilbert sing it himself. And if you have a blog and you want to forward it or put it on Twitter, go right ahead, because the more people hear this song, the more minds will change. And we have genuinely crazy people out there who love their guns more than they love life. And that's fine if they believe that way, but when those guns kill you, suddenly it's more than a belief. So, okay, there we go. If you want wisdom in the world, sometimes you have to ask enchanted trees. What should we do, Woody?
You'll have to pardon me. I talk kind of slow. People have told me that I shouldn't speak in public because my delivery is kind of wooden. That's a tree joke.
You know your laughter is going to...
Heartfelt. I would suggest that if more of you would imitate trees and root yourselves and meditate, you might do better.
That's real wisdom. I like that, yeah.
That's correct. Can you meditate like a tree? You might survive.
There we go.
Meanwhile, a little less forestry would do better, all right? And cut down fewer trees if you don't mind. I'm related.
There we go. I like your mushroom. There we are. Thank you very much. A little bit of tree wisdom. That's good. Who else is here tonight? This is not Airavana, the elephant that Samantabhadra rides on. This is Airavana's mother. There's a female. Thank you, dear. That's good. What advice would you have for us? Well, most of all, these are Americans, aren't they? Yes, they are. Well, I hope that you don't associate me with Republicans. That's important. Or rather, better yet, if you could tell the Republicans to associate more with me. It's just the Republicans have somehow left their party behind, and it's not a Tea Party anymore. It's no fun. The Tea Party was full of Mad Hatters, you remember? That's right. Essentially what I wanted to say was, be kind to each other. Think of elephants, our feet, we hear with our feet. Right, those. They're very sensitive and they can hear, people coming up, and actually we can tell with our feet your emotions. That's true. So if you could be more like elephants, you'd probably do better. Don't wait every 4 years to be a better Republican. Be good Republicans now. Yeah, that's right. So treat each other better, be kind to each other, and if any of you know a good orthodontist, let me know, because I have some tooth issues, but that's okay. Thank you very much. Good. Appreciate that. All elephants need good orthodontists. Appreciate it. Yeah, good. Words of wisdom. Okay, now, we had a request tonight for Samantabhadra's verse of exhortation. And could you, we don't need them. There's something in our yellow book, our yellow ceremony book. The yellow ceremony book has the end of every day for a monastic ends with the verse by Samantabhadra called, it goes, Shi Go Ming Yi Sui Jian Ru Shao Shui Yu like that, and we've been waiting for a good English translation, and I've had one for a while, but we've never put it out for public consumption. So I'll preview it for you, and we'll see if people like it. All these ceremonies are done by approval, right? It goes like this. This day's already over, our lives are that much less. Like fish in evaporating water, what joy is there in this? Great assembly. Be mindful of impermanence, as if your life were at stake. Be mindful of impermanence, something like that, and take care never to be lax. Amitofo. See, how does it go? Be Oh, be ever diligent. There it goes. That's the word. So, great assembly, be ever diligent, as if your life were at stake. Be mindful of impermanence, and take care never to be lax. Amitofo. Like that. That's how we end. I need that. That's how we end every day in the monastery. This day is already over. Our lives are that much less. Like fish in evaporating water. What joy is there in this? Think about that. That's a real contemplation. If you look at the first breath that we take when we come out of mother's womb as the clock is ticking, that's the start of the end, the first day of the first moment of our breath. The number of breaths we will take is numbered. And the image that comes in the verse is like fish in an evaporating pond. If the fish is there knowing that the water's drying out, there's going to be a time when the fish can no longer, not enough water to sustain its life, and it's dead. So the verse goes on to say, great assembly, be diligent. It's the verse says, 如救透然, as if your head were on fire. But that's too strong. So we went as if your life were at stake. Be mindful of impermanence. That's the lesson of our sutra tonight. Take care never to be lax. Amitofo. So that's how it goes. This day is already over. Our lives are that much less. Like fish in evaporating water, what joy is there in this great assembly? Be ever diligent. Be mindful, let's see, be diligent, be as if your life were at stake. Amitofo. That's how it goes. Right? How'd you like it? Think it'll work? As if, be ever diligent, as if your life were at stake. There we go. Be ever diligent, as if your life were at stake. Be mindful of impermanence, and take care never to be lax. Amitofo. Like that. So that's the New English verse, Samantabhadra's verse of exhortation. That's really helpful if you realize how quickly life is passing. But you notice, guess what? We're still here, everybody. It's 9:10. We got another 2 hours and 40 minutes before the prophets and soothsayers are proven wrong. Sadly enough, including Jing Kong, who should know better. How sad. Yeah. We have a Buddhist monk in our community who made a big deal about the sun going dark for 3 months. Well, he got some splaining to do. Either that or he should be quiet. Option 2 is a real good one. Just be quiet. Those words he spoke and put his worth behind would have been better unspoken. In this case, less is more. Jing Kong, shame on you. Qi shi hai xu. Embarrassing. He leaves it for the rest of the Buddhists to pick up the pieces, right? What joy does he get out of being a doomsday prophet, especially a foolish doomsday prophet? He's a fool. And he makes all of Buddhism suffer as a result. I saw the newspaper right there, one side of the front page of the Xin Sheng Huo Bao says, Jing Kong, 3月无太阳. On the right-hand side was a Taoist. The Taoist said, 我看那个行图没有什么. I looked at the chart, says, no problem, nothing different. There you go. In the end, I think he's the one who loses face. So maybe he can go off and collect art and treasures and be an Australian and kick back. So on the back, you have a songbook in front of you, and on the last page you have dedication of merit. The last of the funerals was held today in Newtown. I think the thing to transfer to is not to end the suffering of those who have lost loved ones, but transfer merit to the minds of those people who may yet prevail, so that guns and violence remain our number one idol. Okay, the last page. Make a wish, please. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward, may all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Right. Now, tomorrow is the beginning, tonight actually, is the beginning of the Amitabha session at City of 10,000 Buddhas. 7 days of reciting the Buddha's name. And those of you who want to take part, you can do so. You can go for part of it or all of it. All of it or part of it. If anybody would like to take refuge in the 5 precepts, tomorrow is an opportunity. At CTTB, you have to register before, I think, 11 or 12. So you need to get up there and register. So that's an opportunity. And hope everybody appreciates our lovely decorations here with notice the Buddha on top. It's very nice. On the donation box, there is an icon of Father Christmas. I believe it's Portuguese, if I'm not mistaken. It's beautifully done. Santa Claus is wearing a crown, and it's That's a European way of doing it. Father Christmas, Père Noël, is an interesting fellow in that he was created by a commercial venture. He's not a sacred image. But people would argue that he's more important to Christmas than Jesus. It's hard to make money off of Jesus, but you can make a lot of money on Santa Claus. True. He is the more important figure. You identify him more than you do with Jesus. So, which is, the commercialization of Christmas is a given thing. It is a religious holiday, mind you, right? That's why we love it. But there's a lot of money to be made. So, but he's a beautiful image, and he is a liberated, a rescued image. He was found on the curb. Someone had dumped him, and it was put out to be picked up. And one of our was it Dashing? I think so. It was you, Chinwei. Where did you find it, Chinwei? Down that way. And I think he said, "Take me home. Merry Christmas. I'm looking for a monastery. Merry Christmas." So he has affinities with Chinwei Shi, and so our monastery now has a lovely bodhisattva dressed as Santa Claus. Who knows how many unhappy souls he takes across via happiness, right? He's got beautiful gifts behind. That's Maitreya Bodhisattva come to America, right? The Budai Heshang, right? There he is. And next to him is a happy snowman. So, anyway, happy holidays, all of you. We will be doing some sort of thing on Christmas. Food, mostly. So, and I know all of you want to get out of here so you can get home to your own Christmas celebration. So, if you come for Christmas, leave early, all right? So, that sounds horrible. No, so please do if you'd like to come for food. I have no idea. There's no particular holiday associated with it, so we can, recite the Buddha's name or something. Namo Santa Claus Bodhisattva Namo. Something. We'll make something up. Because it's not officially a Buddhist holiday, right? So, but if there are Buddhists here, why not? Why not do something? So Christmas is what? It's a great opportunity to practice generosity and to see the joy in people's eyes as they receive beautiful things. It's the joy of giving that comes. So, anything else? What else? Okay. Happy holidays, and may all be peaceful and bright. Oh, we can sing our Buddhist carols. Huh. Ready? We'll do one. And we'll do the rest next week, because the holidays continue. I actually forgot about these. Please turn to page 58. 58页. We'll do two. Got it? Now, if you haven't heard Christmas carols, this will mean nothing to you. But those of you who grew up with these are brilliant, if I do say so myself. O western land of utmost bliss, how pure we see thee lie. Your lotus flowers gave birth to us, our karma purified. The vows of Amitabha, the one of limitless light, saves everyone who says his name, reborn in pure delight. Thank you. Ready? You all know the next one. Here we go. Silent mind, holy mind, all is calm, all is bright. Deep vipassana thoughts rise and fall. With clear insight detached from them all. Goes high. Sit in heavenly peace. Sit and contemplate. There you are. How nice. We'll do the rest next week. Okay. 事到自尽，非道则退，在善而从，不善而改。See you next week.